Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark. I have been working as a visual effect artist for almost a decade for high-end clients such as Netflix, Warner Bros., Apple TV, HBO Max, and many more. In this video, I wanted to share 5 tips I learned along the way that helped me achieve better green screen compositing. We will go through each step from lighting your green screen, matching your lighting to the background plate to the final compositing. We're going to look at a few shots that you might have already seen in previous videos on this channel. They all have quite different lighting scenarios, but I didn't want to just show you the easy shots. I wanted to show you some of the ones that were actually quite challenging. Let's begin. In this case, we are shooting outside on an overcast day. This type of lighting is incredibly diffused and it evenly lights your green screen, which is actually the most ideal lighting setup you can have for any chroma keying screen. So the first tip is to use as much diffusion as possible, and if you can, I would recommend shooting outside on an overcast day because it gives you an instant, very good quality of lighting for your green screen. On a side note, you also want to make sure that you stretch the green screen fabric as much as possible, because if you don't, it's going to have small wrinkles on it which may cause shadows that would make your keying trickier. Alright, so for tip number 2, let's say in this scenario you only have 2 lights or even just 1 light to light your green screen. It is fairly easy to rotoscope the body of your talent, even if you don't have the right lighting for your green screen, but the one thing you will find almost impossible to mask out is hair, which is why I would recommend that you light the area where the talent's hair is going to be extremely well, because then it's going to give you the option to key out the hair part in post. You may need to do the blocking first for the scene to see if they're going to be walking at all and to see where their hair is going to be in the shot. Later, I will show you an example that we did exactly this, and it's basically saved the shot from being unusable. So almost every time, pretty much, you're going to be lighting your green screen and your talent or set differently. I think that's true probably maybe 99% of the time, but sometimes limitations to the budget of the lighting package makes you choose between lighting your green screen properly or lighting your talent properly. But as I said in the previous tip, you just need to make sure that you light the area where the hair is going to be well, so you will be able to at least key that. Let's look at this shot of Diana. We were shooting in a small warehouse and we had quite limited budget for the lighting package. We had to use most of our lights to actually recreate the lighting from the 3D environment, which meant we only had 2 tube lights left to light the green screen. And also we added practical fog in the shot because that actually changes how the quality of the light hits our talent. And it basically helped me composite her into the scene quite a bit better. Another very important aspect is to have a practical set that you can then extend in post. This isn't always the case, but I found the end results looking better, and I think there's a few reasons why. Firstly, light bounces back from the practical elements, for example, the ground or a wall. And in my opinion, to get realistic results, you need to make sure that you match the color and the amount of light bouncing back on set to the background plate or the 3D environment. Also, real elements in the frame can really elevate the end results. As the more practical elements you have in your shot, the less visual effects you'll have to use, and practical just always looks better. Lastly, a physical set can help the actor's performance, which is incredibly important. And side note, you want to make sure that you keep at least 6 feet between your character or set and the green screen. Prepping and lighting your green screen is sort of halfway. Keying can still be difficult if you don't know how you should approach it. I would say almost every time you need to key different parts of the talent because it's just almost impossible to light something completely evenly. Let me show you how the 3 example shots you saw in this video were keyed. Before we begin, one very important aspect is denoising your footage before keying and then using that as a mat. I will show you how this is done in the last example. This shot is sort of the rare example where I created a single garbage mat around Scott and the key worked with just subtle adjustments. One of the reasons why this worked though is because he has a hat on that covers his entire hair. Otherwise this would have had to be broken up to 2 different parts, one for his body and one for his hair. This shot was filmed outside on an overcast day, so the lighting is very diffuse and even. There were 2 additional tube lights that were lighting Scott from both sides, and this is just giving him edge lights from both sides. This is how that shot turned out after keying and compositing. So for this shot, Diana was almost completely rotoscoped except her hair, which was keyed. On set, we were left with only a couple of tube lights. Every other light we had to use to recreate the lighting in the background plate, or in this case the 3D environment. So we rigged those lights just above the green screen to make sure that I will be able to key out her hair. I already knew that I will have to mask out her entire body, but as I said previously, I would not have been able to really mask her hair and retain all the smooth details without having more exposure in the top area of the green screen. This layer is the mask layer. Then the first key for her hair covers the majority of the hair area. Then we have another one below this layer that adds back a bit more in the middle, just adding more details back. This is the final composited shot, and you can see the rotoscope and the key is really holding up. This shot of Sophie was a bit more complex to key. This was shot also on an overcast day, although sometimes the sun did come out. So we had to use negative fill to shape the light on the talent, and because of that the green screen became also darker in the bottom. You can kind of see a gradient of darker green and then lighter green at the top. So I duplicated the footage and pre-composed it. As I mentioned earlier, you want to denoise your footage. I use Neat Video's Reduce Noise plugin, which I found to be the best denoising plugin ever. Links in the description. I also added a curves effect and brought up the shadows and reduced the highlights ever so slightly. Both of these help to get a better key. I would also recommend using a premat keyer, either from Boris FX or Red Giant. Once you key this layer, you can turn it off and use it as an alpha matte for your original plate. And this is the base key. Then I did 5 separate keys for the hair on the left side. This gives back the fine hair details, but the key still looks pretty terrible against the background plate. So to match the hair to the background plate, I like to apply a light wrap, but not for the generic use of a light wrap where you add the bleeding highlights to the edge of your green screen plate. Rather, I subtly recolored the edges to better blend with the background plate. This is before and after applying light wrap for this particular use. And this is the final shot, and as you can see, there's quite a lot of details remaining in the hair area. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you found this video useful, please consider subscribing and enabling notifications so you don't miss out on future videos. Thank you, bye.